Hey everyone, welcome to the I Made This show. I'm Brian. I'm a DevRel at Sanity.
And I'm Cap, also Deborah at Sanity. That's my coworker.
Hello,
I don't
over
know which
here.
way they're that way.
Yep. So this is typically a show where we highlight some amazing things happening in the community. But today's going to be a little bit different, and we're currently in what we're kind of calling the pre-show time. So
hmm
we're going to bring on our very special guest here in a few minutes to actually talk about what we're so excited about. But we have a swag store now.
We have a swag store.
So this is what we're going to be checking out today and seeing how we built and how we did the e-commerce and all that cool stuff. You can check that out right now, store.sanity.io. Super exciting. Starting pretty small with it. We've got some t-shirts. I'm rocking one today, as well as some hoodies, which I desperately want one right now, and some stickers. So be sure to go check that out. And also, this is the pre-show, right? Which is the super laid back, hey, how's it going, everyone kind of style. But we're gonna have a post show too, and the post show is where the magic happens. So be sure to stick around for that because there will be a raffle for people who have put contributions into our amazing community site, sanity.io/community. So if you put in a schema or a code snippet or a guide or a cool project to showcase or a starter or a plugin,
Or
you're
plug.
already entered to win, right? So we're gonna be raffling off a t-shirt at the end. So be sure to stick around for that. And if you haven't already, listen to us in the background because it's gonna be an awesome show. But like,
hmm
go over and maybe add something to the community. Go register over there and add a snippet because actually we now have snippets, which is super cool. It was just schemas, but now you can put like your React package or your cool use of portable text on the front end. All sorts of cool stuff that you can add in over there. So do check that out. Thanks for the link, Ken Jones. He posted it as opposed to just
Yeah.
having it straight up on the stream. So yeah,
So where's everyone tuning in from? What's the craziest time zone that someone's uh currently in right now? I'm mine's not too bad. I'm at 11 a.m. because I'm in Pacific, but IST. I don't know.
Mitt in chat in Twitch chat is saying snippets. Yeah, so any kind of small code snippet you can think of that is practical for Sanity use, you can go put in the snippets and schemas part of the community to share with everyone, or just go look and find all the cool stuff people are posting. Ooh, midnight 30.
Oh yeah.
That is dedication. I appreciate you being here for that.
Yeah, welcome.
Mumtastic in College Station, Central Time. That's just after lunch, 8 p.m.
Warsaw,
Berlin.
8.
Yeah, not bad.
Vegas.
Yeah,
Woot. 7 p.m. in London. Not bad. Welcome,
yeah,
everyone. This is
yeah.
fun.
Thanks for tuning in. Yeah. So like I said, we're going to get started here in a few minutes with the official portion of everything. But I want to encourage everyone, if you have questions for us or for Peter going throughout, we are going to be taking those. They'll come up on stream, and we'll actually be recording this middle section for YouTube. So you'll be able to go check it out later too if you have to drop off halfway through. We understand that. A 6 a.m. Oh, Ronald, hey. Um, so yeah, so be sure to ask your questions. We'll take those throughout. Don't feel like you're interrupting. Let us know if you have any questions about how we did things or how you can do these same things with Sanity as well. We got Central Norway, Nebraska. Yeah.
Yes, it's a real state.
Cool. So yeah, be
Spain.
sure to post questions in whatever chat you're in, whether you're in Twitch or in Twitter or in YouTube. Let us know. And yeah.
Hi,
Oh,
Jacob.
Mom Tessie, you've already ordered a shirt? Wow.
Yeah,
They're
it's
nice. I like
amazing.
it. So, yep. And Jacob is tuning in as well. He says hi from Minneapolis. He was our guest last week talking about some other e-commerce stuff with Snipcart. So that's on our YouTube channel. You can go check that out as well to see how he's building out the new cool plugins for Snipcart. All of which are also available on the plugin section of our site as well at sanity.io/plugins. So be sure to check those out as well as all the other cool plugins that we've got there. So yeah, Cap, what do you think about kicking things off?
Let's do it. Let's bring
Oh,
Peter on stage.
all right, so we'll see y'all here in a second. Welcome, everyone, and welcome, Peter, our amazing community and support engineer. How are you doing today?
Hey, well, good. How are you?
Nice. I'm doing pretty well, Cap. How are you doing?
Good. Can't complain.
Awesome. So we're here today to talk a little bit about our new e-commerce store, right? But before we get into that, a lot of people who are part of our community, especially on Slack, are probably pretty familiar with Peter. He is everywhere in there, and he's an incredibly helpful presence. But maybe they don't know too much about who you are outside of Sanity, Peter. So can you give us a little breakdown of who you are, where you kind of come from, and how you found your way to Sanity?
Yeah, sure. So before I came here, my history is actually I guess, partially in international relations. I used to work in that, in a couple of nonprofits. And the other side of it that I've done for a long time is kind of entrepreneurship, web development. I led a web agency for more than a decade back in the Netherlands, where I lived before the UK and Spain, where I am now. And before that, in 2005, my first company was in IT solutions. Like I developed remote working solutions before it was as popular as it is today, I guess. That was something else. And yeah, I've always been kind of really excited about helping people get connected to new technologies, helping people basically achieve the kind of projects they like and they dream of using tech and guiding them on the way. And that's just really cool at Sanity, that we have this super flexible platform, and I just get to help people do that every single day. And I'm super excited about that. It's really fun. And yeah, it's a bit of background, I guess.
So back in those agency days, what were you using? Because that was probably a while ago, right? There was no Sanity back then.
No, unfortunately not. It was a lot of, all the other traditional candidates, right? WordPress, Joomla, Drupal, Expression Engine at the time, that was very popular for a moment. So those kind of systems that are still around in one way or another, but that you don't see all that much in the headless space anymore. But still, it was still very exciting, and I guess you got to see kind of the foundations of where we are today, right? Things slowly progressing and people realizing the power of not being so dug into your front end solutions, for example, and decoupling everything. Yeah, exactly like that.
So how did you find Sanity? Obviously, you've been with Sanity for a little while now, but how did you come into the Sanity world?
Yeah, so one of the startups I worked in, we were looking for a new CMS, and I compared lots of them and actually settled on Sanity after comparing them. I was very excited about the flexibility it had at the time, and just being able to have so much control over what your system looked like and how you could extend it. And then, I got started in the community. The community was amazing. People were so helpful. It was just a lot of fun exchanging and seeing people's use cases there. So gradually became more involved there. And one thing led to another, I guess. I worked as a consultant for a bit, and then eventually ended up as an employee here at Sanity, and using it every day.
Nice. So on to kind of the meat of things, right? You use it every day. But you've been working on kind of a special project for a little bit now that I think we want to debut today. So what are we unveiling today, and how did we build it, and why did we choose what we chose to build it?
Yeah, I guess one thing was a given. We use Sanity, surprise, surprise. But what's very exciting is, like, I guess the story goes back a little bit. We have an exceptional community, as you know, and I'm just amazed every day by the contributions people make, by the projects they share, and just by the generosity, right? People helping others and using their time to help others. And once every while, you get this question of, these cool T-shirts that you're wearing in these pictures, can I get me one of those? And the answer was always kind of like, yeah, not yet. We don't have enough stock, or we don't have any place where you can order them. And so there was always this kind of desire to build that place. And yeah, I guess we're super excited to have it today. And I saw you already shared the URL, so people probably had a look. But there it is. But the question at the beginning was, like, what should it look like in terms of design? And I had a look at different swag stores out there, and there were, like, our colleagues in the headless space. There are a bunch of them that have their own swag stores, and it's usually yeah, the kind of standard of product listing, product detail page, and then the usual checkout process. But everything was always very nicely branded. And I thought, okay, so what's the visual element that most closely connects people to the Sanity brand, right? And that's the Sanity Studio. Because what do you work in every single day? What do you think of when you think of Sanity? And most of the time anyway, like it's more than just the studio. But the thing you identified with is usually the studio design and the thing you work in every day. So we thought, what if we could take that back end and make it the storefront, make it the front end instead? So that's what we did. And yeah, I don't know if you've already taken a look at the store.sanity.io site, but there you'll see it. And I can share, I guess, what it looks like and walk you through it a little bit.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah.
So the back end UI looks the same as the front end UI. Do you ever get confused on which one you're looking at?
Sometimes, yeah. Hold on, I'm just trying to share.
It's UIception a little bit, right? It's got a little bit of both in both places.
I need to give permission. Yeah, it is a bit like that. It can be confusing sometimes. It doesn't seem to let me share my screen for some reason.
Okay. Well, I can, if nothing else, pull it up on mine. All right. So here is the front end, but it looks kind of like a back end, other than this right panel looking a bit more on the story side. But the left panel definitely looks like a standard content, a document type list in Studio.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you see the usual UI elements, right? The search, the navigation bar at the top, the search, the compose new document button, the presence indicator on the top right. So we had to kind of repurpose them a little bit because we were like, okay, so what are we going to use that for? Because there's a lot of presence, but we don't know who people are, right, on this website. So that's become our shopping cart counter on the right. The compose dialog is now suggest your new swag, a new dialogue there. Because I guess we'd love to hear from people, actually. If you have cool ideas on new Sanity swag and you've come across some really cool items, do share them with us, because it's actually very fun to hear about them. We've done this internally a bit as well, and people came up with things like grok crocs and grok pots and grok face masks and so on. So a lot of cool stuff may be coming, fingers crossed. So that's
I'm keeping my fingers crossed for the grok crock pot, because I can't say it very easily, but I want
it's hard to say.
I want the grok cap. That's what I'm looking for.
Oh, that's awesome. So yeah, there's like just 5 items now, but this is just the beginning. This is our MVP basically. So yeah, let's see how that goes. And yeah, if you go to products, for example, on the left, you see that second pane opening up, and you all recognize your document lists there. And yeah, the bottom bar has become basically the place to interact and to put your order. You see the in stock notice there. If it's out of stock, you can reorder, you can get notified. So we've kind of reused all these elements from the Studio UI to kind of give you that feeling of familiarity and feel like, hey, this is something I recognize. This is something I feel connected to. Because in the end, that's what swag is about, right? In a way.
Yeah. This is actually, like, as weird as it is, my favorite portion right here is the second pane. Like, because like the first pane looks like Studio a little bit, but like when you get this view, like you're like, where am I now? Like, are you sure I'm not inside of a studio? Ooh, yep. So why did we decide not to just build a Shopify theme? Because this is powered by Shopify, right? Like the actual e-commerce layer.
Yeah, absolutely. Like when we decided to build this thing this way, right? This Sanity Studio front end. The second question was, okay, so how are we going to build it? And we, like, I was aware of this really cool starter kit by Kevin Green, who many of you might know already. Like he's awesome. He's published so many interesting projects to have a look at. Like if you're into e-commerce and you're interested in seeing to what extent Sanity can be extended, definitely have a look at website that he's built, like Primo.co, for example, where he's put in a ton of different modules, and it's just a really interesting project to look at. Yeah, he's also in the community indeed, and it's definitely worth checking out because he's taken it very far, and yeah, he's always pushing the limits a bit of what can be done, and he has also published this really cool starter kit that uses that synchronizes Shopify. It uses Gatsby as a front end framework, and of course uses Sanity for the content management. This is a website, so midway.control.world, slightly anarchic, but very interesting. And he's done a really good job at documenting it as well. So yeah, even if you're maybe not looking to use this particular setup, because it is a bit opinionated, the things that are built into it, it just gives a really good illustration of how you can connect everything, what kind of things you can plug into it. There's a really cool newsletter integration, for example, that's worth looking at. And all these different pieces, and just seeing what goes on under the hood is just a really cool way of getting into the possibilities of combining Sanity with, for example, Shopify, which is only one of the options in the end, right? So that's what we've picked. And then I guess I got very lucky very recently because we published the Sanity UI toolkit as well, which is on sanity.io/UI. Because my mission with this thing was actually to build a studio in a way, right? And as people might know, like if you're extending the actual studio and you're trying to build your own tool or your own plugin, or maybe an input component, traditionally it was always a bit tricky to make it feel native to the studio, to make it feel at home in your studio, because you had to style it exactly the same way, right? And this UI kit just makes that so easy to do, because it's actually what's being used by Sanity at the moment under the hood as well. So you get these components that just fit in right away. So yeah, anyone looking to extend the studio, I really recommend having a look at the Sanity UI kit. We used it for this front end, and which means you don't even need to use it in the studio alone. You can use it in any React project, any JavaScript project, and plug it into that, and just makes prototyping super easy and super quick. So those two things I used to build the Swag store that just really helped push this out very fast, actually.
Right on. We have a comment in the comment section. I joined late. What's today's topic? So Peter's actually walking us through Sanity's new Swag store, and right now Peter's talking about what happened behind the scenes, the build of it. And yeah, so it's live now at store.sanity.io. You can go look at the Swag now. We're actually viewing Brian's screen right now, but we were looking at it earlier. And yeah, so there are shirts, hoodies, and stickers. And then there's like a section where you can make like new ideas of what you would like to see in these Swag store. There we go. And I think that's my favorite feature, is that new document is new Swag idea. I think that's my favorite part of this.
It's probably the cleverest of the parts, right?
Yeah, it's so clever.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where we're like, okay, what on earth are we going to put under that button, right? Because it doesn't have an actual use in a front end per se. One other option that I considered was putting the contact form there or so, just a way to reach out to us. But this just seemed like more fun, because in a sense you're creating an actual document when you do this. Because if we go to the actual studio of the studio, so if we go to swagstore.sanity.studio, and I think both of you, or at least one of you, has access to that.
Powered by Sanity.
And you've thought of everything in the design, like that. The publish button is the add to cart button. Like, it's very mirrored from the studio.
Yeah, I mean, it was very easy in the sense that with the UI library, like you get all these little pieces you can just plug into it. So it's like, okay, I need a button there that looks like the studio. Okay, let's just use the button right from the Sanity UI library, and that just turns out to have different options to put a tone on it. For example, that's primary, which produces a blue button you see at the right bottom corner. So that's very cool to yeah.
What was the hardest, like, this is in the studio, how am I going to use it? Like, what was the hardest, like, little element?
I guess the hardest one that's not even fully done now is that the actual studio has this really cool thing where your panes collapse if you make your browser smaller. And that's actually quite cool the way that's done and the way that's set up, but it takes a bit of time to rebuild it. So that's not there yet. Like your pane simply disappears now, first one and then the other if you go for responsiveness. And on mobile, you don't have your panes at all. I mean, that's the same in the studio. But just reproducing that functionality wasn't that easy. And for that reason, isn't in this first iteration. But it might come.
Right on. Oh,
sorry, I was bad and never actually accepted the invitation to that studio. So I'm accepting it right now.
Okay. Yeah, we could. Okay, there we go. So this is the backend. That looks quite similar too. And this is actually more or less the out-of-the-box Midway studio that you get using Kevin Green's starter. So it's very complete, as I said before. Like it has support for products, variants as well immediately, which is very useful if you're creating an e-commerce solution. And it's something you usually have to actually program yourself. It's not usually there out of the box. It's very cool to see that he's built that too. It even has support for subscriptions in this case. The only thing I added here was the new swag ideas one, which is just this new document type with 3 fields, super simple. So just goes to see that you can get quite far with a standard setup, actually. I guess someone actually just suggested something. That's really awesome because it wasn't there before the stream. So thank you very much. Yeah, we could do the same. Like we can just fill out that little dialog window, and that should then end up here. So you're actually creating a document when you use that.
So these products don't technically live inside of Sanity to begin with, right? They live over in Shopify, but how does that connection happen? And then why is that a good thing for us to do?
Sure. So normally, like you can go different directions with this, like depending on what you choose for your e-commerce, like for your product information. No, not for that. For kind of to store your products, your carts, and so on, and your orders. If that's Shopify, then it's Shopify. But it could also be another thing. I've built some things in the past where I use MongoDB, for example, that allows you to get a bit more flexible with that, but it does mean that you have to create your own carts, and that's a bit more tricky. It takes a bit more time. You could use Snipcart, which we saw last week, for example, by Jacob. That's another option. That's a bit more bare bones than Shopify is, and that could actually be a good thing sometimes. But in this case, our products live in Shopify. They're synchronized. Because there's a serverless function that is part of this kit to synchronize Shopify Sync. If we go like I would share my screen now, but I mean I could reconnect to the stream. That's one option, but otherwise we could go to the GitHub repo instead, and we can see it there. Or we can just say that it's there and people can check it out. That's another thing we could do. So yeah, there's a serverless function that does that. So the only thing that lives in Shopify is basically the title, the inventory that you keep track of there. And you can add a photo, but and those are kind of read-only fields here. The variants you can enter there as well. And all these are synchronized all the time. So even after you've added it to Shopify, if you make a change, it's resynced and it's all up to date here. And then you can do in Sanity, what Sanity is just really strong at is basically augment your product information here and build anything on top of that you're dreaming of. So you can go really far with that. Like I said before, if you have a look at some of Kevin's work, you can see an illustration of that. But basically anything you would do in the Sanity Studio, you can link to your product. So yeah, traditionally, other systems tend to be somewhat limited. You have access to some meta fields in Shopify. But if you want to go crazy and add, I don't know, ingredients to a website about food, if you want to create a cool visualization, and if you want structured content in general as your product information system, basically, Sanity is just such a great fit for that. Like it's really easy to extend it that way because your sync is only necessary for the inventory in a way, just making sure the actual products are listed and yeah, tied to an SKU if you have your warehouse. And that's all that Shopify does in addition to the card logic.
And so what are kind of some, we've seen one instance, right, of the ability to tie interesting feedback together. And that is with that idea of the new swag ideas, right? The fact that this is live on the Gatsby site, that button that is supposed to pretend to be, oh, cap, the grok cap, there it is.
Or grok cap.
Or a grok cap, as
That's
it were. That's only when Cap is wearing it, right? But what are kind of some other uses that we could have, not necessarily in our swag store, right? Because it's a relatively simple use case, but you've got products, you've got a marketing site. What are some of the benefits that we could have if you were, say, trying to do some marketing around certain products, if it was all in one studio together?
Yeah, because like I read an interesting article the other day that I think could apply here as well, and they were kind of saying that products sometimes are compared to like the Uber for X or the Airbnb for X, and they were arguing like we're entering a time where it's more about having a Switzerland for X, and what they meant with that is having kind of a neutral player in between that mediates between different sites. And you could see Sanity, if you like this analogy, you could see it as kind of the Switzerland for content, right? It's like this place in between where you accept all the incoming content, whether it's from Shopify or any other system. You enrich that content in Sanity, and then you push it out to all these other places, no matter what. Like, it doesn't discriminate between whatever you pull in or wherever you want to pull it out to. And that's a very cool kind of way of thinking about it. It's kind of this content repository for you where you can edit and augment and go mad on anything you want to do with that, right? So in terms of use cases,
you can equalize, you can normalize, like there's all sorts of interesting things when you dig deeper, right?
No, absolutely, and it's about having it in a structured way, like in one place, where it all ties together, and people can just manage it in one place. They don't have to go to all these different systems to update one thing here, one thing there, to have a final result that's somewhat consistent. It's all just in a single place, and it's synchronized to anywhere else. You can, in terms of e-commerce, you can think of a thing like, for example, you could have a companion mobile application. You could have, like you said, your marketing site, your blog tied to this. You could even print out magazines, if you like, products, if people still do that, PDFs and so on. Newsletters, you can power newsletters. Any of these use cases just fits right in, and people have done things beyond that too.
Right on. So the content, the swag that we have available, and there are ideas that people can put in. Are there any ideas internally that we're thinking of adding for product ideas?
Yeah, I mean, we have this list internally that we keep track of, and this includes like anything goes, right? So it includes really mad ideas and really funny ideas like these, like the grok pots, for example. But also more general ones, like as you can see, most of the swag that's there today is quite dark. So we have one suggestion to have more colors, which makes a lot of sense, right? So that could absolutely be something we do soon. Having different shirts, like tank tops, for example, could be something. Mugs with all kinds of things. We have a lot of pets at Sanity, so we had ideas to do something with that and have their faces on a mug all together. Yeah, I don't know. We have tons of ideas, I guess, a long list, and we'll have to vote and see which ones are more popular. Maybe have to involve the community in that too, and see what people come up with. But I really see this as like the beginning. I'm super happy that we have a place now to refer people to if they're wondering if they can if they want to show their support and feel part of the community wearing a t-shirt with a big S on the front. That's awesome. But obviously, yeah, requests will be coming in. Like already hearing a lot of grok stuff here, so that's cool. Tote bags, yeah, that's awesome. Actually, we don't have that.
I've already actually forgotten that I've forgotten that I'm not already in the studio, right? I just went to like see if I could find those items again, but nope, I'm on the front end. I'm not in the swag store studio.
I forgot.
So Peter, let's do this real fast. Let's see if we can get your screen share up and running, so we can take a look at the code a little bit, and then you know, movie magic in the distance for putting this on YouTube later, so people don't have to deal with that. So go ahead, and if you want to disconnect and reconnect, we'll see you again in a second.
Back in a moment.
Cap and I will talk about all the cool ideas that may or may not be coming in, right?
Yeah, and if you're here and you want to go give an idea, oh yeah, Jonathan with the Grok
Look,
mic.
they're going.
Mendoza, there we go, good.
I love the idea of Mendoza patches. Like that is absolutely like I don't think anyone's come up with that internally, but it's like a galaxy brain kind of thing. How would the real-time sync work? When Peter gets back, we can start talking a little bit about that. But really, Sanity is a real-time data store. So when things get pushed in the front end, all of this updates in the back end, and then it can just go right back to the front as well. But yeah.
Yeah, when I saw you go back into this, I hit the submit idea and it showed up immediately.
Yep. If you were just waiting, you were just hoping to get that interaction happen live.
Yeah, hats. Hats would be fun. I'd wear a hat. I want a Sanity orange red hat.
Yeah. All right. Peter is back. So Peter, if you can go ahead and share, I should be able to get it up on screen.
So can you see this store?
Yeah.
Yes, you are now our live presenter.
Awesome. So if we dive into the code for a bit, here you see this might be very tiny on the left. I don't know how to increase its font size there. But this is basically the folder structure of Kevin Green's Midway starter. There's a Lambda folder in there with a bunch of serverless functions. One of them is Shopify Sync, which is kind of at the heart of this starter kit. And as you can see here, like you can scroll through it, have a look, and learn about how he set up that synchronization. It's also very good for any other platforms, like if you're looking to integrate any other platform than Shopify. And that's, this is always there, and this is called whenever there's a content change in Shopify. Then there are a bunch of other functions. He's already added support for accounts, which is very cool. Like you don't even have to build that yourself. There's a login, logout, forgot password, and all these things, and a way to look at your past orders. So that's actually supported right from the get-go. All you have to do is turn that support on in Shopify as well, otherwise it won't work. In this case, I already referred to it before. We use Sanity UI quite heavily because we had to mimic the studio layout. So one example of that is, for example, the compose dialog. If you click that button, as you can see here at the top, we borrow a bunch of components from Sanity UI. And then afterwards, it's just very easy to create a dialog like that. Normally require a lot more code. Here you just say your theme provider is light in this case. For the nav bar, for example, we use the dark theme provider because it had to be a dark navigation bar. Then all you need for the dialog here is this little snippet here. And in the header, you can actually add an icon, which we did in this case. You can also just add some title text. There's a form inside where you have some error handling. And it works with all these different boxes. And then we have a text input, and a text area for your description. And then a button. So all these are kind of out of the box from Sanity UI. Not much, a little bit of styling here and there, but not so much going on otherwise. It just works really well like that. So that's maybe a good example for that usage. That then links to a serverless function. In this case, the starter relies on being deployed on Netlify, but you could easily repurpose that for Vercel, for example, if you prefer. It doesn't really matter that much. You just have to change a few things. What's very cool is that Kevin has already built in support even to test these serverless functions locally. So if you're in local development, that can be a bit tricky sometimes, but that's working out of the box as well. There are a bunch of modules in the backend that you can use. One of them is the product grid, for example, that we show on the homepage with these 5 products. Basically, just calling another component, and it's all very nicely set up there. There's even analytics built in if you're looking to set it up with Google Analytics. It works with templates because it uses Gatsby under the hood. What's important if you ever try to use Sanity UI on a Gatsby front end, so not on the Studio backend, is that you put it into the into whatever you put into Gatsby browser, that you copy that into Gatsby SSR as well. Otherwise, it won't work, just because of the way it's using styled components. And there's one, like you could build what we've built in a leaner way, but because we just use the standard starter, there's one thing you have to add for Sanity UI, which is the Gatsby plugin styled components here. Without that, it probably won't run. That's a little tip. And yeah, that's the basic setup. So as you can, like overall, we haven't changed all that much, and that's just very cool about this. We didn't have to change all that much. We just tied in. We basically hooked up Kevin's starter with Sanity UI, and then did some small customizations to achieve, some things like a little emoji here, or a little icon there, and here maybe slightly change some elements on the way this is set up with sizes and variants. But it's not all that much customization. If you go to Kevin's own documentation website, you can also see there if you add something, it looks pretty similar. Like overall, it's very much following that setup. So if you're looking to prototype something quickly, these starters are just ideal for that. And if you then want to take it further, you can definitely do so, just adding your own styling on top. And like I said before, it's just a really good way of having an illustration of all that you can do. Because if you look at the repo here, Kevin likes spaghetti, you can see that like it has TypeScript support out of the box, accounts, different serverless functions set up for you. And there's just very little that's left that's not actually integrated yet. So it's just a really good example. I do know we had Snipcard last week. I also know we have something very exciting with Next.js coming up soon, more details to come. So there's a bunch of different e-commerce platforms you can rely on with a bunch of different front-end frameworks. So there are many examples that just have one thing in common, is that they're all augmenting in one way or another their products inside of Sanity.
Yeah, one of the things I kind of going back to kind of my agency days a little bit was that like Shopify was actually pretty great for doing simple to medium e-commerce, but like marketing wise, it was kind of a pain, as well as like adding additional data. There was the idea of plugins, but a lot of those plugins then had some sort of monthly cost associated with them too. And that was all to add this kind of idea of augmented data, right? So I think it's really interesting that you can kind of do that same thing, but without the extra piece of like a weird third party that's housing your external data. It's all just in the studio that you're already using for all the marketing stuff anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what we're seeing right now is a bit of a boom in the e-commerce space as well, like definitely also due to the pandemic, I think. Like I'm in Spain right now. Here, there's a lot of youth unemployment, like close to 50% at the moment. It's really awful in that sense. But you also see at the same time this huge activity around e-commerce, people setting up their own shops, working out their own ideas and setting up their own companies and trying to build something for themselves. And it's just really cool to see all this activity now and seeing the community come up with lots of plugins, lots of little tools that help that you can plug into your bigger solution. So absolutely, yeah, it gets to be this rich ecosystem of little pieces that all just fit together. And yeah, if you keep your content in Sanity and plug in a bunch of stuff at the same time, you quickly end up with a very flexible solution. And I think that's what all these starters illustrate very well.
So, let me see here. So let's take a half a step back, right? So this is a really cool thing that we have built, but it's kind of built on the back of, as you've mentioned a few different times, Kevin Green's Midway starter, which we've kind of shared the link already a little bit, but you're active in the community. You see a lot of things that are coming through. Obviously, you help with many of the things that are coming through, which is amazing. But what are you kind of seeing in terms of what why people are sharing these things and why they should go in there and kind of add their own stuff. What's happening in those kind of areas?
In terms of why people are sharing it, more in like what's their motivation, or okay, yeah. I think what's cool is that we're first of all, there's a lot of exchange activity going on here. So people sometimes come in and just say, "Hey, I'm trying to build this thing. Has anyone been in that same situation before? Does anyone recognize that use case?" And the answer is more often lately is like, yes, in fact. And here's a tool that I built for it a while ago, or here's a guide that I wrote, or here's something I know and I've seen in the community. And it's just that's increasing. So it's so useful for people then to see that. And what I love is the dynamic that then happens, that someone then pushes on a bit further and uses that material, and then ends up at another point where there might not be something to use immediately. Build that thing or write that thing and then publish it themselves. So you kind of have this interaction going on where we just build on top of each other's shoulders, I guess, and get to better and better or more elaborate or more complete solutions all the time. So I think that's one driver. The other thing is that I think it's very cool, and I'm a bit biased on this, of course, to have the community pages live. I know that people are generally excited to see that when they share their work there, it gets more visibility, right? People see it, people react to it, and maybe react in the community, maybe externally. And it makes my day completely to see that someone's proud if we feature something. And I mean, that's so awesome to see and so humbling. So I think, yeah, the more visibility we can give people, the better as well. And that's one reason I wanted to highlight Cabin Start in this case, because I think it was one of the first that was one of these bigger projects out there. But of course, we have a bunch of new things going on that we should definitely feature there. And it's so cool to have the space to do this. And I'm a big fan of this show already. Like, it's the second episode, and it fits right with the channel. So that's awesome.
Nice. So go ahead, Cap.
Well, and it's fun because like in the community you create, and if you follow me, you know I love portfolios. And so you're like creating this little portfolio, but it's content that other people can benefit from. A big one that I see is plugins, and because a lot of times someone else is probably looking for that plugin that you are also wanting, then you create it, and it's just this like chain reaction of helping each other out and giving each other a little help in a project. So yeah.
Absolutely, and even sometimes it's even like a matter of two people finding each other, teaming up on something, which is really cool to see, right? Just kind of interacting and publishing something together, which is also something you can do, and it's worthwhile, I think. Yeah.
Yeah,
definitely. Cool. Well, Peter, thanks for taking the time out of what I know has already been a busy day for you, and it's now evening for you, to kind of walk us through this and talk about the swag store. And I would highly encourage anyone to go check that out. Again, that's sanity.io store.sanity.io. So you still have all of our slashes that threw me off. But also like the fact that you set this up and have been dealing with it all along, it's just been amazing. So thanks so much for all of that.
Yeah.
That was the easy part. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Cool. So for those of you who are here live, we're going to move into our after show, and we're going to do a raffle for community contributions. So be sure that you go over to sanity.io/community. And if you haven't already put in contribution schema, a guide, a plugin, whatever you've made in Sanity, you can add in there. We're going to be doing that here in a few minutes. If you didn't and you wanted to for, say, next week, hopefully we'll have another one of these next week, and we'll raffle off more from this amazing new swag store. But yeah, be sure to stick around for the after show. And Cap, is there anything that you want to talk about with the guest authorship program before we log off the official video here?
Yes. So we have in the community, we are publishing guides, and we also, on top of that, have a guest authorship program where you work with all of us, this team, and we get your guide written up and out in the community for other people to learn from. We do have Brian put it up, sanity.io/guest authorship, and that's where you can apply to be a part of the program. We have a good amount of authors in there, so if you want to be a part of that, definitely put in an application, and yeah, we'll see. So yeah, thank you.
Well, thanks again, everyone, for tuning in. And for those of you staying for after show, we'll see you in a few minutes, and then see you in the community. And we are back.
And we're back.
Peter has stepped away, but be sure if you have any questions about what we've kind of talked about today, that you post them in whatever chat you're in right now. We appreciate everyone kind of hanging out with us. We're going to keep hanging out for a little bit, but I'm going to get things ready for me to run our raffle script so that I can check out all the amazing contributions in the community. But yeah, feel free to post questions in chat right now.
So what are we raffling off today?
So we will be raffling off one of these amazing t-shirts from the newly minted swag store. I got to figure out the exact way we're doing it, whether it's going to be a coupon code or or I actually place the order myself and deal with all that. But it's going to be pretty excellent, I think. I love this shirt. I get to wear it mostly when I'm recording things like this, but I wear it occasionally otherwise.
I did have someone message me. They're like, I'll trade anything. I'll trade a houseplant for your Sanity shirt. I'm like, no. We have a swag store now. Don't worry about it.
Yep. So let's see. I gotta actually open up my projects here. Yeah, definitely great work. And if you have any questions for Peter, he's hopefully taking a well-deserved rest after this and probably going to bed soon because it's super late where he is. But he is in our community. He's very active in there. Obviously, like I said at the beginning, most of you have probably seen Peter in the community. Oh, Peter is still here hanging out in Twitch. Let's see. You gotta remember what project this is in. Sanity.
So
I have too many Sanity studios on my local machine, that's for sure.
That's something I find happens a lot. And I'm like, where am I? There's so much going on.
Let's see.
That's why I'm glad we have a swag store.
Oh yeah, like I'm super excited about that at Sanity IO Studio. All right, look at this opening code.
And it says there's no such thing as
too many Sanity studios.
Studios.
Let's put that one live. There we go.
Maybe
I would
like
I would argue that there's definitely not a thing as too many Sanity studios. There's definitely a thing as too many Sanity studios on my local machine, especially when they're all like I need to name them better. They all start with the word Sanity, so like doing tab completion in terminal is just not what I need to be doing. So let me find my command. I'll actually show y'all what I'm gonna be doing once I get up and running. Here we go. So here is honestly the code base for our studio. Oh, nope, this is not the right one. Never mind. I need the community studio. Pay no attention to the horrible desktop you see behind you. Let's see, Sanity. There we go. That's probably it. There we go. All right. So Peter, who is still listening but no longer with us here, has written this script for me, which is super helpful, where basically we're looking at all of the contributions inside of sanity.io/community, which has its own studio, which you can log into. You can create an account and you can put all your own stuff in there, guides, schema and snippets, plugins, starters, and projects. So if you've done a cool project, that counts in this vein as well, right? So it's looking through all of those. It's running a quick filter to see if any of the known Sanity contributors are in that, right? We don't want a Sanity employee winning. That doesn't make any sense. and then it's going to output a random person or a random contribution from that. So we're not actually looking at people, we're looking at contributions. Therefore, the more contributions you put in, the more chances you have to win in these hopefully weekly raffles, right?
I see.
And so it's then going to yeah, right. Like, so it's not the person, it's the contribution. So put in more contributions, get more JavaScript math random opportunity.
Yep. More entries into the raffle.
Exactly. But then I get to showcase whatever it is that has happened. So we're going to run this. I'm going to run it in terminal using the Sanity exec command. I'm going to run, there's a JavaScript file that I've got that we're looking at here with all these Grok queries as well as the random numbers. And then it's going to run it with my user token. So it automatically knows all of that. It puts all of that together and it's going to spit back out the result. And we'll see what the result is this week. And it's not as pretty as maybe like doing like a spinner or something, but maybe we'll figure out some things around that in the future as well. So let's run this and see what happens. I should update my CLI, apparently, is one of the things that happens.
Drum roll.
All right, so we have Ian Hatcher-Williams, who has done some really great things. And we have this URL, so sanity.io/projects/Genexa, I think. And this is actually, speaking of e-commerce, I believe this was an e-commerce project. This was a featured project a few weeks back, I believe. But a lot of different products, some interesting things happening in the studio. You can see products and product variants. I was right, it is e-commerce. Let's see, using Sanity, localization is happening inside of it, live upsell suggestions based on the cart. There's a modular page builder to replace Unbounce. That's awesome because, again, like you've got your marketing stack, you've got your content stack, you've got your e-commerce stack, you've got too many stacks. Put them all into Sanity, right? And complete subscription management. So Ian, I don't know if you're watching right now, but I'll reach out to you in the community and we'll get that squared away. This is a cool project though. So definitely go check it out on sanity.io/community. You can find all the projects there. And there's a lot of cool stuff being added pretty regularly at this point. And Espen, our intrepid open sourcer, said too many.sanity.studio. I hope you already have that. Otherwise, I'm going to claim that.
Oh, that's fun. It just goes to a page that says no such thing as too many Sanity studios.
Ooh, you did that fast. I appreciate that.
You did that fast.
Yeah. So you can see it was actually a featured project a few weeks back, but there's a lot of cool stuff happening here, and we're doing our best to feature a new one every week on the homepage of sanity.io/community. Recipe website is actually a really cool thing. There's a cool video guide that goes with it that is based on binging with Babish. He does like a fun intro that's based on that YouTube channel. But a lot of interesting things happening that are getting shared on sanity.io/community. So I would encourage everyone to head over there. Does anyone have any questions for the after show?
Yeah. Any
Cap?
I don't have.
What's been your favorite thing about the community so far? The community ecosystem so far?
I really like, and I know I said this earlier, but I'm just going to say it again. I really like the fact that you can create a portfolio where, I mean, it can say I'm available for work. It can have your social links. It can have projects, blog posts, guides. Like it can have everything in one spot. And I'm all about that, like that corner of the internet that's yours, and you can like control it, and you can put your projects on it. So my favorite thing is just the profiles and how if you're looking for work, how easy it is to just send that over to like a potential job that you're looking into, and they can see. I mean, writing blog posts is so important because you are able to teach other people, and that like creates this community of knowledge and education. So yeah, the profile pages, that's my favorite thing.
And I really enjoy on the profile pages, there is actually like a Boolean that you can go to, and you can actually say, I am available for work. And it shows up on your profile, and obviously you've got contact information and all that good stuff there. My current favorite thing, I like the things you said, Cap. I can't obviously steal that. I love all the contributions and showcasing the people that are making cool stuff. But this week, I think just yesterday, we pushed a little change to change our schemas to be schemas and snippets. So now it is a broader use case for this section on the site. And we actually have had a GitHub repository that was like sanity.io recipes that were just like cool little snippets. And Canute endeavored yesterday. You might have seen it if you're in the Slack community. A whole slew of new contributions came through, and that was Canute adding those recipes to this section. But you can see there's stuff like, you know, how to list and group image asset documents and use current user custom React hook. And I've got one that I added in. Where is it? Let's see. It's here somewhere. There it is.
There it is.
A grok query defined all movies. So this is with the movie database that you can get from the CLI, right? You initialize a new studio, you use the movie schema and the movie data that comes with it, and then you can do something like this and find all the screenings that reference a movie that references an actor. So you can do like these complex grok queries. And like I get to, this isn't a schema, right? I couldn't have shown that before, but it is a snippet and it is using something that I'm actually pretty happy with. And like I get to explain it. So I like that we've expanded that. That's a cool thing. So if you have any cool use cases or even like just useful use cases that you think somebody might find helpful, be sure to go post it here. It's kind of one of the low end things you can do. Just like, here's my 10-line script that does X. And X can be helpful to so many people when they're looking at all these things.
And do these snippets show up in their list of stuff on their profile?
Well, let's go take a look. Here is that use current user custom React hook. So it does show up there. It's basically, again, making your portfolio of cool Sanity things that you have done, and it's doing it relatively, you know, low effort to do that, which I always enjoy low effort things. I may or may not be lazy. I think that may have been why I became a developer, to automate as much as I could away from what I need to do. But you can see here, like this is, you know, copy and pastable into a React project, which is nice. So yeah. All right. Well, I think unless there are any other questions that are coming through, I think we can call this call it a day. I'm hoping that we'll have an announcement in the next couple of days for our next guest, and I'm hoping that will be next Tuesday as well. So be sure to stay tuned to our Twitter, twitter.com/sanity.io. Come join us in the Slack community, slack.sanity.io, and do add your amazing contributions to the community at sanity.io/community, because it is very much a helpful place for everyone. So yeah, I appreciate everyone showing up. Cap, as always, thank you for co-hosting with me here.
Yeah, thanks everyone for joining.
Yeah. Thanks, y'all.